I recently found out I have Hashimoto's and low testosterone. How did I finally get this diagnosis after years of normal thyroid blood work? And did the use of Ozempic cause my thyroid disorder? By the way, this is a follow-up to how I tapered off of Ozempic or semaglutide last month, and that video is linked here. I made a few carnivore videos over the past year, and meat does heal, but I did utilize the semaglutide peptide, popularly known as Ozempic, to assist me over the past 6 months. I want to speak openly about my mindset as I've navigated this ongoing body journey in order to help anyone else who is struggling like I have been. Because your struggles might be due to hormone imbalances rather than you eating too much or needing to move more. Last month I shared my weight loss journey, which, if I'm being honest, has been a lifelong battle. As a female, I recognize that we judge ourselves harshly, especially physically. Around age 13, our bodies begin to change, and this can cause a large spectrum of physiques. As humans, we naturally compare ourselves, and unfortunately, the schoolyard provides many comparisons. I grew up playing sports, mostly soccer and running, and I felt strong and successful, but noticed that as other girls my age leaned out and grew taller, I remained stout like a teapot. This was not my ideal looking body, nor what I aspired for. In the mid-1990s, I began cutting carbs and fasting before races and games. Many thought I was crazy at this time when quick goo packets were all the rage for optimal competition. However, for my body type, I could perform better on an empty stomach. This helped me lean down, and as I entered college, I felt much better about my body than I had in high school. My heart breaks for high school girls. It's a difficult phase of life coupled with awkward body changes, and while most of us encounter these changes, there are those unique unicorn females who appear physically perfect. Currently, my life is dominated by social media due to content creation, and I honestly don't feel I could be a high school girl today. Not that my content is aimed at young girls. However, if any do catch this, realize your schoolyard has never been more challenging with the addition of doctored content online. The aspiration for perfection is intense, and comparing yourself to unicorns is just not healthy. Please know you are not alone, and even those unicorns have personal inadequacies and aspects that they want to improve. So what were my body goals? I always aspired for a long dancer's body. Although I'm 5'2", I truly believed that if I could get some bulk off, including muscle, I could look taller and leaner. In last month's video, I shared the decisions I made following giving birth to my 4 sons, such as racing triathlons, monitoring food, and opting for the gastric sleeve in order to restore my weight. Because of this recent video, many know I use semaglutide, which is also popularly known as Ozempic, between the months of July and December in 2023. This peptide helped me lose that last 20 pounds and finally gave me the long dancer's body I appreciated. That video has a great comment section, and one question that stood out asked, why would I choose to use the semaglutide peptide if I saw success with keto and carnivore? This is a really important question, and I want to explain it more fully. Following the body plastic surgery that I had in February last year, my weight began to drop more. I was still going to yoga, intermittent fasting, and right or wrong, I began cycling between lower and heavier carb days. I began cycling carbs because my energy was fading and my night drenches were becoming an every night occurrence. My night drenches were so intense that I would switch pajamas midway through the night and my bedding and hair were soaked. My night sweats picked up with frequency when I was around 38 years old and continued to increase. Coupled with lower energy, increased irritability, and a lack of sex drive, I reasoned I was in menopause and these symptoms matched perfectly. Do I have other health issues that could have resulted in weight gain? Backing up for a moment, when I was in my late 20s, I was diagnosed with ulcerative colitis. UC is an autoimmune disease that attacks the lining of your lower colon. I endured these symptoms through college and into early adulthood. The urgency for the bathroom increased after the birth of my second son. I was racing triathlons at this point, and this bathroom issue was becoming a real problem. At 29 years old, I had a colonoscopy, and immediately I was put on steroids. Although my UC was causing me a lot of pain and concern, it was actually a mild case, and the steroids worked wonders. I only took the medication for 3 months and then discontinued using it. I feared that with my 3rd or 4th child, the symptoms would reappear, but they never have, and I'm very grateful for that. During the following decade, I would get blood panels every 1 to 2 years, and I would ask the doctors to check my thyroid. I believed I had a thyroid condition, and because I had already had one autoimmune disease, I knew it was possible for another one. All tests returned that my thyroid was fine and that I was making the thyroid hormone. My estrogen was high, but that was attributed to my IUD. Following the boys, I had 2 IUDs placed, each lasting 5 years. My doctor suggested that my high estrogen could be the reason for my issues with weight control. They never suggested that there were more tests to run to analyze my thyroid, and I wasn't versed on what to request. Through these years, I would cut carbs and restrict calories, only to barely maintain my weight, which would fluctuate between 120 and 130 pounds. It was difficult to identify the reason I couldn't get leaner. Last February 2023, I elected for the mommy makeover. It turned out fantastic, and I was happy with the results. You can see that entire journey here under the playlist Mommy Makeover. Following the surgery, I went down to 118 pounds, and I was nearing my goal. However, when I was 8 weeks post-surgery, I noticed I was gaining weight again. When I was prescribed semaglutide, one idea was pitched that my age, coupled with the surgery and my symptoms, could have triggered early menopause, and that this peptide could help reset my system and help me feel in control. I knew something was going on internally that I could not get a handle on, and I was eager to start the semaglutide injections. The semaglutide worked and got my body down to where I wanted to be, and I'm so happy with the outcome. I'm only sharing this backstory so you understand why I made the decisions I chose up to this point. So how did I finally find out I had an undiagnosed thyroid issue? It's 2024. At the beginning of January, I looked into getting a testosterone pellet. I realized that in my quest to drop weight, I did compromise muscle, and I heard that the testosterone pellet could aid me in a myriad of ways, including sex drive and muscle growth. In order for this pellet to be inserted, I needed a new blood panel to check how much testosterone hormone I was actually making. As expected, it came back low, and I was a candidate for hormone replacement therapy. The other hormone this blood work checked was my thyroid, but instead of simply looking at if I was creating thyroid, this panel checked my T3 and T4 levels. It revealed that I had antibodies present that were attacking my thyroid. You guys, this is how I finally found out. After many years of struggling with weight management, it was revealed that I do have Hashimoto's disease. Hashimoto's is an autoimmune disorder. Normally, your autoimmune system protects your body by attacking bacteria and viruses, but with this disease, your immune system attacks your thyroid gland by mistake. Your thyroid can't make enough thyroid hormone, so your body can't work efficiently. Hashimoto's disease is also known as Hashimoto's thyroiditis, chronic lymphocytic thyroiditis, and chronic autoimmune thyroiditis. Hashimoto's typically develops in women between the ages of 30 to 50 years old, and the symptoms can vary drastically, which is why it can go undiagnosed. I have many of the symptoms associated with Hashimoto's disease, but as you can see, this list can be attributed to many other issues that plague us as humans. I don't have all of these symptoms, but I have quite a few of them. It's actually ironic because years ago on my original channel, I would see comments from time to time suggesting that I had an enlarged thyroid and that I should get it checked. I would respond explaining that I've had my thyroid checked many times and the blood panels suggest I'm totally normal. The cause of Hashimoto's disease is unclear. However, having another autoimmune disease can elevate your risk of developing this disease. Further, if you already know you have hypothyroidism, you are at a greater risk for developing Hashimoto's. Forefront Health has an article about this disease and how they actually have helped patients reverse the destruction of their thyroid. In it, they explain how an overabundance of estrogen leads to multiple issues, including the destruction of the thyroid. Estrogen stimulates your thyroid gland to produce more thyroid hormone, yet at the same time, it also inhibits your thyroid gland from releasing that thyroid hormone. This causes a buildup of thyroid hormone within your thyroid gland. This is a big reason today why Hashimoto sufferers develop goiters or soft nodules on their thyroid glands. I'm really not sure if I have a puffy or enlarged thyroid, although years ago people noticed it, I guess. As I'm editing this video, I actually grabbed a screen grab of my neck and I think it's pretty puffy and I think you can see the goiter, which I don't normally see in a regular mirror, but here it is, full and present. Remember earlier when I shared that my estrogen levels would come back high during blood work panels and I was told this was due to the IUD and the reason I couldn't lose weight? While true, my estrogen levels could have been due to the IUD, apparently blood work does not reveal how high your estrogen levels truly are. Forefront explains, people who are hypothyroid both overproduce estrogen and cannot detoxify it, causing it to accumulate in their body. Needless to say, both of these problems tend to cause estrogen to build up to dangerous levels. Unfortunately, this isn't caught through blood testing because estrogen tends to accumulate in the tissue, not in the blood. This is important to point out because many times when people are tested for estrogen, the blood tests are normal or even low when tissue levels can be up to 50 times higher. Regardless of the mechanism, you end up with long exposure to high levels of estrogen. Prolonged exposure to excessive estrogen is shown to increase the production of Hashimoto's thyroiditis, TPO antibodies significantly increase. I did have my estrogen tested 2 years ago, and based on blood work, it indicated my estrogen was so high that my body thought I was pregnant with triplets. I can't even imagine what my tissue, if biopsied, would have revealed. Basically, my entire life, I most likely have had hypothyroidism. In my 20s, I developed ulcerative colitis, an autoimmune disease, and that could have spawned from my hypothyroidism. After my fourth son was born, we thought we were done having kids, and the IUD appeared to be a great solution. I understood from previous blood work that my high levels of estrogen could be the reason I battled weight. However, I did not know that prolonged high levels of estrogen had consequences because I assumed my healthcare professionals would see this blood work and be alarmed, but they weren't. Inherently, I must make a lot of estrogen. This, coupled with 10 years on the IUD, only exacerbated the situation. Estrogen has been building up in my tissues for a very long time, and my body can't detoxify it. Honestly, I'm surprised at how well I've functioned over the years. One major reason I intermittent fast nearly every day since high school is that when I eat anything, even meat, it causes me to be lethargic. If I have something crazy like pancakes, it will cause drowsiness and I'll want to sleep. This is the reason I place my calories at the end of the day. I do this so that I can work and be effective. I'm grateful to finally have a diagnosis for something that has been crippling me for years. Stress can also increase the onset of Hashimoto's, and 2 years ago when my original removed, I felt like the symptoms did pick up. I reasoned it was due to this loss and even sought psych meds to aid me during this time. When your hormones are disrupted or depleted, this can cause a lot of issues, including depression and dark thoughts. This January, I was going to return to the psychologist because although things seemed better in my life, I was very sad, emotional, and personally destructive. Luckily, fate intervened when my psych appointment needed to be moved. I was pretty upset by this change of plans until the next day when I visited the hormone doctor for my pellet and found out I might actually feel insane due to my hormones. So I decided to postpone my psych appointment because I first wanted to see what balancing my hormones could do. Let me make it clear, I do not have any issue with taking psych meds, and they can be very helpful, but I do think many women are prescribed them when their hormones may be off, and the psych meds only mask finding the actual issue. At the hormone doctor, I received a 100 milligram testosterone pellet placed in my butt. This pellet dissolves over 3 months, providing needed testosterone. You can also do testosterone injections. I also started taking NP thyroid every morning. After only 1 day of thyroid replacement, I immediately noticed an improvement in my mood and how I perceived and responded to life. My night sweats have decreased, and even if I do sweat, it's not the drenched 2 pajamas per night scenario that I had become accustomed to. I'm sleeping better and I'm more hopeful. I have only been on hormone replacement for 2 weeks and it's already improving my quality of life. I realize there is much more I can do to help my thyroid, and so many of you from Instagram have shared amazing stories with me about your recovery and how hormone replacement therapy has changed your lives. One site shared with me is stopthethyroidmadness.com, and I'll link to it below. This site is full of information on how to get the correct blood panels done and how to recover from thyroid issues. Some have suggested that the use of semaglutide could have triggered my Hashimoto's disease. It's true that people who have hypothyroidism apparently shouldn't use this peptide, but I doubt it played any role in my disease. By the time I turned to semaglutide, my Hashimoto's was already in phase 3, which apparently requires a decade. If you can relate to any of this, please let me know down in the comments. Further, I'm not upset by the decisions I've made because I made them with the information I had at the time. If my hypothyroidism had been diagnosed early on, I could have started hormone replacement therapy and perhaps never needed to employ other methods. However, my personality is one to solve issues, and I went about finding solutions when I was never being given accurate information. Life is a journey packed full of experiences, and I will continue building my dream life with this new information. I hope my full account resonates with you and helps you find answers, and I'll see you guys on the next video.